"What kind of worthless junk did you give me?" my father said. And then he slapped me in front of 30 guests, holding champagne glasses on the night of his 55th birthday, in a house I had scrubbed on my hands and knees since sunrise. I ran out the front door with nothing but a backpack and a bruise on my cheek. I didn't know it then. But that slap was the last thing Gerald Talbot would ever do to me, because by midnight, I'd be sitting in a black SUV across from a stranger who'd say 5 words that would unravel 18 years of lies. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. My name is Hillary. Though for most of my life, I was forced to answer to Allison. I'm 21. Now, let me take you back to that Saturday morning. The day Gerald Talbot turned 55, and the last day I spent under his roof. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. Actually, scratch all of that. Allison was the obedient servant he molded. Hillary was just a ghost trapped inside a forged paper file. The woman taking her life back today is Brooke Mitchell. And Gerald Talbot was just a convenient alias. The man who actually stole 18 years of my life, the man I systematically destroyed, is Marcus Carter. He thought I was just a terrified diner waitress. He severely underestimated me. "What kind of worthless junk did you give me?" my father said. And then he slapped me in front of 30 guests, holding champagne glasses on the night of his 55th birthday, in a house I had scrubbed on my hands and knees since sunrise. I ran out the front door with nothing but a backpack and a bruise on my cheek. I did not know it then. But that slap was the last thing Gerald Talbot would ever do to me, because by midnight, I would be sitting in a black SUV across from a stranger who would say 5 words that would unravel 18 years of lies. Before I go on, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and what time it is there. My name is Hillary. Though for most of my life, I was forced to answer to Allison. I am 21. Now, let me take you back to that Saturday morning. The day Gerald Talbot turned 55, and the last day I spent under his roof. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. Actually, scratch all of that. Allison was the obedient servant he molded. Hillary was just a ghost trapped inside a forged paper file. The woman taking her life back today is Brooke Mitchell. And Gerald Talbot was just a convenient alias. The man who actually stole 18 years of my life, the man I systematically destroyed, is Marcus Carter. He thought I was just a terrified diner waitress. He severely underestimated me. Charlotte, North Carolina, is a city where manicured lawns bleed into heavy oak doors, and dark secrets are buried under expensive landscaping. Marcus Carter was a highly respected insurance branch manager, a church elder, a pillar of the suburban community. Behind those closed doors, he ran a psychological sweatshop, and I was his only employee. I spent my high school years working grueling, grease-stained shifts at a downtown diner. Every penny I earned went into a battered shoebox beneath my mattress. Every minute I spent inside that massive house was logged in a color-coded chore ledger Marcus forced me to maintain. Sweeping the back patio, polishing the heavy silver cutlery, scrubbing the grout in the guest bathrooms until my knuckles were raw and blistering. If my ledger was incomplete, I did not eat. My bedroom was a windowless storage closet next to the humming water heater. His biological daughter, Christina, slept upstairs in a sprawling suite, driving a luxury car paid for by my invisible labor. Marcus and his enabler wife, Monique, constantly reminded me I was unwanted trash they benevolently saved from the foster system. I was supposed to be grateful. I was supposed to kiss the ground they walked on. His cruelty was not random. 18 years ago, Marcus was not a wealthy corporate manager. He was a failing junior insurance agent, drowning in $50,000 of secret gambling debt. He was inches away from losing his prestigious church standing and his pristine suburban life. So, he bought a lifeline. He forged my adoption, hours before his 55th birthday party. The illusion shattered. Marcus cornered me in his home office. The air smelled of expensive cologne and lemon polish. He slid a dense legal document across his mahogany desk. A guardianship extension waiver. He demanded I sign it, granting him indefinite control over my legal and financial rights as an adult. My diner shifts had hardened me. I knew what a scam looked like. And I knew my own worth. I shoved the paper back across the desk and walked out. That defiance, not the cheap leather wallet I bought him, was the real reason his hand cracked across my jaw in front of 30 people. He was losing control. Running into the dark night saved my life. 2 miles down the empty suburban road, a black SUV rolled to a stop. The back door opened. Inside sat Trevor Hayes, my biological father, and Vanessa Sullivan, a fiercely competent family attorney. Trevor had wide, exhausted eyes that matched mine perfectly in the rearview mirror. They did not offer vague apologies or tearful hugs. They offered hard documents. A forensic fraud dossier. Vanessa revealed the sickening math. Marcus forged my adoption papers to collect a $1,500 monthly state subsidy. Over 18 years. He stole $324,000. My entire life was a monetized lie. I was not a burden. I was his best performing asset. That money paid for Christina's luxury car. It paid for Monique's designer clothes. It paid off his gambling debts. A cold knot formed in my stomach. For 18 years, Marcus forced me to reconcile his home checkbooks and file his taxes to save money on a real accountant. He screamed in my face if a $2 grocery receipt went missing. He weaponized my trauma, demanding hypervigilance over every single penny. Now, sitting in the leather seat of that SUV, I weaponized it right back. They broke me then. But today, I held the hammer. I grabbed Vanessa's financial discovery files. My eyes scanned the dense bank statements, filtering out the noise. A specific transaction glared back at me. A $15,000 wire transfer labeled First Baptist Charity. Dated the exact same week my fraudulent adoption was finalized. I recited the bank routing number, entirely from memory. Vanessa smiled. A cold, sharp expression. We had our smoking gun to subpoena the corrupt social worker. Leonard Grubb. Marcus realized I was gone and panicked. The state checks were going to stop, and his fraudulent empire was crumbling. He launched a massive, aggressive smear campaign. The next morning at church, he stood before the congregation, weeping, claiming I had suffered a severe mental breakdown and stolen precious family heirlooms. His golden child daughter, Christina, flooded my phone with mocking texts, calling me a delusional stray who would come begging for scraps. Marcus assumed his wealthy status made him untouchable against a runaway diner waitress. We skipped the phone calls. We skipped the administrative warnings. 2 days later, Vanessa and I hired a uniformed process server. We walked straight into the bustling, brightly lit lobby of Marcus's upscale insurance branch. Phones were ringing. Wealthy clients were waiting. The process server loudly announced Marcus Carter's name and slapped the forensic subpoena onto the marble reception desk. Marcus stormed out of his glass office, his face flushing deep crimson, his smug facade shattered right in front of his staff. He leaned in close, his breath hot and sour, threatening to crush us with his high-priced defense attorneys. I held his gaze without blinking. The terrified girl in the storage closet was dead. The courtroom was his final public unmasking. Marcus sat at the defense table in a tailored gray suit, trying to project the image of a heartbroken savior. I bypassed the legal jargon entirely. I stood at the witness stand and opened my battered chore ledger. While his fellow church elders watched in stunned silence from the gallery, I systematically matched the dates of his $15,000 bribe to the exact weeks he forced me to scrub his floors until my hands bled. The judge slammed her gavel. Her voice echoed off the wood panels. She voided the adoption instantly and ordered full restitution of the stolen $324,000 to the state. I watched the entire gallery turn their backs on him in absolute disgust. 2 nights later, the nightmare tried to pull me back in for one last gasp. Christina, desperate to win her father's approval and save her lifestyle, used a fake social media account to stalk my coworker's page. She spotted the diner's glowing neon logo in the background of a photo and handed Marcus the address. I was taking out the heavy trash bags in the dark alley behind the kitchen when he ambushed me. A bankrupt, cornered animal, Marcus slammed me against the cold brick wall. The smell of stale beer and rotting food filled my lungs. He shoved a crumpled affidavit of retraction into my chest, screaming threats, demanding I sign it to save him from impending criminal charges. He promised to ruin Trevor's life if I refused. I did not fight back physically. I stalled. My hands were deep in my apron pockets. I rapidly squeezed the side buttons on my smartphone 5 times, activating the emergency response feature. The emergency dispatcher listened live, recording Marcus screaming his entire felony witness, intimidation, and extortion attempt over an open government line. Police cruisers rolled into the alley with their sirens completely off. They pulled Marcus off me and shoved him face down into the parking lot grease. The sheer, naked panic in his eyes, as the steel cuffs clicked shut, is an image I will carry forever. The dominoes fell instantly. Because of the massive restitution order, the state seized the pristine Charlotte mansion. Monique Carter, his enabler wife, pleaded guilty to accessory charges, received 5 years of probation, and was shoved into a cramped, dingy apartment on the absolute edge of town. Christina was completely cut off from her stolen luxury. Last I heard, she took a minimum wage job at the exact same diner I used to work at, forced to wear the stained, heavy apron she used to mock me for. The corrupt social worker, Leonard Grubb, was already under federal suspicion. My ledger provided the final nail. He was indicted on federal fraud charges, his accounts completely frozen by the government. Marcus was denied bail because the emergency recording proved he was a severe flight and retaliation risk. He is currently serving a 10-year sentence in state prison. The morning after his sentencing, I woke up in a sunlit apartment with Trevor. The smell of fresh coffee drifted from the kitchen. The sky outside the large window was bright blue. I took that old, color-coded chore ledger, dropped it into the trash can, and watched the sunrise. I was finally free. That is where the story usually ends in movies. The bad guy goes to jail. The hero smiles at the sky, and the credits roll. Real life does not work like that. Healing is a violent, messy process. It requires tearing down every lie you were ever taught about yourself and rebuilding your mind from the ground up. The court ordered restitution of $324,000. That money currently sits in a secure trust account in my name. I use it to pay for my college tuition, studying forensic accounting. A few months after Marcus went to prison, Monique tried to reach out. She left a weeping, hysterical voicemail on my phone, claiming she missed me, claiming she only went along with the fraud to keep the family together. She deliberately tried to leverage the word mother. My chest tightened. The old childhood conditioning flared up, demanding I fix her pain and make her comfortable. I stared at the phone screen. I hit delete. No anger. No screaming. Just absolute, terrifying indifference. That was the exact moment I knew I had truly won. I spend my Sunday mornings having breakfast with Trevor. We do not try to force a father-daughter dynamic that was stolen from us. We are just building a relationship. One honest, quiet conversation at a time. He treats me with absolute respect. There are no chore ledgers in his house. No strings attached to his kindness. It is a profound peace that I never knew existed. If you are watching this, and you have a sick pit in your stomach because my story sounds a little too familiar, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Abusers who use financial control and emotional manipulation rely on a very specific weapon. They weaponize gratitude. They convince you that you are a massive burden, that your existence is a debt you can never possibly repay, and that their bare minimum tolerance of you is an act of supreme charity. They do this to keep you blind to what they are actually taking from you. I had to learn 3 brutal rules to survive and escape that house. I am sharing them with you now, so you do not have to wait 21 years to find your own freedom. Rule number 1. Blood does not make you family. And forced paperwork does not make you property. True loyalty does not come with an invoice. If someone demands constant praise, worship, and obedience just for putting a roof over your head or feeding you, they are not parenting you. They are holding you hostage. Family is supposed to be a safe harbor, not a ruthless debt collection agency. You do not owe your life to someone just because they decided to keep you around for their own benefit. Rule number 2. Your trauma is your tactical advantage. The hypervigilance forced upon you by an abuser is a superpower if you know exactly how to wield it. Marcus forced me to track every single penny, turning me into an anxious perfectionist, terrified of making a math error. I used that exact skill to track his fraudulent bank transfers and systematically dismantle his life. The very mechanisms they use to break you are the exact tools you can use to break them. You are stronger, smarter, and far more observant than they will ever realize. They built the weapon that will eventually destroy them. Rule number 3. Accountability is the ultimate closure. Do not waste your precious energy seeking revenge. Revenge means you want them to suffer the exact way you suffered. That keeps you tied to them in the dark. Seek accountability instead. Drag their actions into the blinding light of reality. Subpoena their financial records. File the police reports. Stand up in a crowded courtroom and speak the absolute truth without shaking. Let the natural consequences of their own toxic actions crush them. When they can no longer hide behind their polished suburban masks, they will destroy themselves. You are allowed to walk away from people who continuously hurt you, even if they loudly claim they love you. Trust is earned, not owed. Respect is a mandatory baseline, not a special reward for perfect behavior. I am Brooke Mitchell. I was a state paycheck. I was a convenient scapegoat. I was a prisoner in a windowless room. But today, I am completely free. If someone in your life is constantly reminding you of how much you owe them, ask yourself right now, what are they secretly taking from you? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for staying until the end. Stay safe. Stay smart. And never let anyone convince you that you deserve to be mistreated. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are sitting there thinking, why on earth did it take her 18 years to run? Why did she not just walk out the front door the second she turned 18? It is easy to sit on the outside and judge. But we need to talk about why victims of financial and emotional abuse stay. And I promise you, it is not because they are weak or stupid. It is a psychological trap called the slot machine effect, formerly known as intermittent reinforcement. Toxic abusers like Marcus do not just beat you down every single second of every single day. If they did, you would leave immediately. Instead, every once in a while, they drop a tiny crumb of approval, a rare smile, a fake promise that things will get better. You keep pulling the lever, exhausting yourself, hoping for the jackpot of a normal, loving family, but you only ever get crumbs. You get addicted to the hope. That is exactly how a brilliant, capable young woman gets trapped in a windowless room. Now, let us switch gears and look at the street-smart financial moves Brooke made to utterly destroy her abuser. Because this is where the masterclass truly begins. First, she used the audit strategy. Financial abusers and scammers absolutely hate details. Marcus was too cheap and arrogant to hire a real accountant. So he forced his victim to balance his books. He literally handed her the map to his own destruction. Brooke stopped trying to argue with his lies and started tracking the math. If someone is financially exploiting you, take the emotion out of it. Look at the bank statements. Find the wire transfers. And follow the paper trail. The math never gaslights you. Second, look at how she mastered building the case. When Marcus cornered her in that dark diner alley, every human instinct screams at you to fight back, argue, or scream in their face. What did Brooke do? She stalled. She kept her hands in her apron pockets and squeezed that emergency SOS button. She traded a temporary physical fight for a permanent felony conviction recorded on a government line. That is pure emotional discipline. She let him dig his own grave. Finally, We have the buyout. Brooke did not just walk away and let karma do the heavy lifting. She used the legal system to enforce a $324,000 restitution. She understood that true accountability often comes with a massive dollar sign attached. She legally bought back her stolen future. Here is the final verdict. Your loyalty should never put you in debt. If your family, your partner, or your boss demands constant, groveling gratitude while secretly draining your bank account or your sanity, you are not in a relationship. You are a mark. And it is time to close the account. Have you ever had to legally or financially untangle yourself from a toxic person? What was your ultimate breaking point? Drop down into the comments and tell us your story. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the psychology of survival and financial self-defense. And always remember, your peace of mind is the one asset you should never, ever let anyone devalue.